So, good afternoon, everyone. As I see, we've been talking a whole lot of AI, uh, and kind of there's a perspective that we have by now what AI can do, what AI can't do, or how much, or whatever. So I think we'll not get into that debate about what it can do or can't do, or what it can it replace human emotion, not replace. I think, so how we can start perhaps is, getting a little sense of the businesses you are in, so that you know where you're coming from, and it'll be great if you kind of see how it fits with your own business, the area you are in. So Kunal, you can tell us about what your business is, the nature of your business, not exactly in terms of where all you work, but what does your company do?
Sure. So I'm a first generation entrepreneur and coming from a technology field. So I run a business which is into tech HR. We use a lot of combination of machine learning, artificial intelligence systems, and we do a lot of data crunching in terms of understanding people, profiling people, and understanding and combining what product mix is going to work for them.
Do you do that for other people also, as in you do?
So I'm in a business of providing solutions for the other companies. So I
Which
provide
includes
platforms.
HR.
So I
Oh, okay.
provide tech HR as well as marketing automation platforms.
I see.
So we do that all the time. That's our core of business.
Fantastic. Venkat, we know the name Landmark, and I saw your card, what you do, but it will be good to for the.
Yeah, I represent Landmark Group. Landmark Group is a retail chain based out of Dubai, and in India we run Lifestyle, Max, Home Center, various formats here. We are a very labor-intensive organization, about 27,000 employees, across about 650 locations across the country. And in terms of age profile, it's about 27 years is the average age. And they are frontline staff at all minimum wages from a lower strata of society working in our stores. And to them, how we reach using technology is what we do, because we are a hardcore brick and mortar, but definitely we have competition from all the e-commerce giants, and we are also getting into e-commerce. But at the same time, we, as far as technology goes, we have upscaled ourselves in various areas of HR, and maybe that's something I would talk about in time.
You have if you have such a large workforce, you have a line of managers to manage that.
Yes, because definitely we have supervisors, then managers, and then there are, and the back end is very different, because the back end consists of, fashion specialists. They are buyers, designers, they're all from NIFT. That's what is our back end, that's what it comprises of. So different section of people, and we need to deal with them very differently.
So Abbas, you can tell us which part of Ericsson you come from, because Ericsson we have a sense, but it's very large.
Large organization.
What part of Ericsson you come from?
Okay, so Ericsson globally is divided into 5 market areas. So we are operating in 180 plus countries directly. So I belong to one of the 5 market areas, which is Southeast Asia, Oceania, and India. So which is like anything from Australia to New Zealand to below China, anything to India. So that's one of the, and this is one of the most performing market areas for Ericsson, because the technology divergence is huge, right from 2G to 5G. Everything you will find out here. You will find areas like Myanmar, which are actually very fresh in network, and you will find Singapore and Australia, which are going in 5G. So this is the landscape of where exactly do I come from. Plus there are also business areas which are transcending the market areas, but Ericsson is a complex organization. It's a very complex organization. Most of the people take 2-3 years to understand this organization. That's why we have an average age of like 10 years or 15 years in the organization.
Things are very complex. Other day I met somebody from Volvo,
Okay.
and he's a jury chair for the awards this evening. And they said, yeah, I know somebody who takes care of Volvo trucks. I said, no, but we have nothing to do with it. I said, what? So yeah, I mean, he said, I know the guy who takes care of Volvo trucks in India, but these are 2 separate businesses, separate owners. Like there's one set of people who own Volvo cars, and the set of people who own Volvo trucks and buses. But
Yeah, so we have something in common with Volvo. We are a Swedish organization.
okay, there you go. Right. Yeah, you do this
So
complicated.
we create complexity. We love it.
Okay, yeah,
and
right.
we thrive
I
in it.
I didn't connect the 2. Yeah, sure. Okay. So now that we know where these gentlemen come from, do you have, first we can talk about the L&D needs in your kind of organizations. I think why I'm trying to make it personal is that we get a better insight rather than just discussing. L&D is not one area, like one shoe fits all, can't happen, because different organizations have different learning and development needs. So I think we can start with you from the other end now.
Okay.
What are, say, within your region, the kind of businesses you do, the kind of strategy you have and the business objectives you have for the region, what are your major L&D needs?
So as I earlier said that, you know, our landscape is quite diverse. So that's where exactly the challenge comes in, because when you're designing a strategy specifically, and only talking about learning and development at this point of time, you talk about, at one point of time, you talk about cost, yes. There are areas where you are harvesting. There are areas where you are trying to put in the seeds and you probably hope that something will come out. And these are different countries. We have areas where 2G is still heavy. There are areas where 5G is getting implemented. So you can understand the landscape of the, and so right from the sales programs, the different kind of sales program, connecting it to the ROI, to getting into countries where we have to separately target a workforce to, you know, enhance the competence. So where there are people in 2G, we have to upscale them. So that's a different kind of so it's a very pocketed approach. So you have to basically think about what kind of business areas or geographies that we need to target, where we are talking about enhancing the competence. And learning and development also happens to be a very interesting area when we talk about because, you know, at one area you have reached saturation. Now you're trying to sell a solution over 5G platform. So then you have to have a sales program. So we have sales excellence program, very specifically designed out, called Challenger. And right now we are going ahead with Set to Win, where we are talking about badges and people's career movement according to that. So the kind of badges that they get, so tying it up to promotions. So landscape in terms of learning and development, in terms of the understanding, is quite huge.
Besides being linked to the business objectives you have, it changes with technology. This is most amazing. As technology grows, your learning and development needs grow.
Obviously,
I can quite imagine.
I'll just add to it. So for example, if you're talking about, the three areas specifically when we have so at one point of time, one country, you are very powerful with radio and microwaves. And now you want to put in packet core. So the kind of competence that you want to increase in the workforce that actually is there is in packet core. Whereas in some other country, packet core is not the objective because you are doing quite well in packet core. Now you have to basically talk about consulting and selling that. So a challenger program would be very well defined for them. You know, so that kind of, and that's where exactly the technology and identification of areas actually come into picture for us.
This is getting interesting now. So Venkat, in your industry, or your, not essentially your organization, but because retail is very large industry, several thousand crores get into it, and probably as many, if not several thousand, but few thousand crores number of people who work in that, because it's very organized now. But let's stay we're staying within organized retail. What kind of learning and development challenges and needs are there?
I think if you look at it for that strata, I mean the front-end staff, we need to make learning very interesting. So what we did in the past is definitely, or still continued to, we use theatre methodology.
But what is it? Do they need to be given soft skills? Do they need to be
so
given
they
language
need
skills?
to be, actually if you look at it, it's
What
primarily soft skills, because at the end of the day, it is customer service orientation there in the front end. And there is also functional knowledge which needs to be given for them to understand products. So if you actually a shirt, if you pick up, they need to know the basics in terms of what that shirt is, the sizes, the fit, the wash instructions, things like that need to be provided. All this is provided as part of our induction training, and that's how they brought in. And a lot of orientation towards customer service orientation is provided to them, because at the end of the day, we have a program called GET, Greet, Engage, and Transform. I mean, we want them to kind of, you know, make them buy. So primarily, if you look at it, programs like this that we do. But what I was coming to say is, we need to make it interesting for them, because we really can't, because for them, 8-9 hours that they work is not easy. I mean, they need to be standing there and have at least a plastic smile or a smile at 9 o'clock in the night when that last customer could be an irate customer who walks in. So how do you actually motivate them, engage them and keep them? And then you tell them, no, no, you need to come 2 hours early for a training program. They are not willing to. So how do you keep it? So that's why we use maybe quiz is one of the methods we use, like standard operating procedures, on the product and things like that. We use quiz, and now today we've also gotten technology. Today
We'll come to that.
Yes.
After hearing from Kunal. So Kunal, here you can specifically tell us in your own business what kind of training needs you have for your developers, for your other staff that works with you.
Yeah, I think I'll pick up a couple of lines from where Abbas also mentioned about there are different departments, and each department is going to have a different set of people. So even before we get into the personalization of trainings, the first thing is what are the future business needs? There are a lot of times every organization, we are still a small organization, but even large organizations, small organizations, you have to let go of people at different times because there are different skills which can't just be upgraded. So while any amount of technology learning or any amount of soft skills learning has to be embedded as a system which is largely people-led, there has to be a definition of what exactly is needed in the organization. So I have literally reduced half my workforce of the business that we used to do earlier, and we are leaner. We do about 3 times more revenue today as compared to what we were doing three years earlier. So everything is dependent upon where the business model is taking you, and what platforms will work for whom, for what kind of learning. So that's again a set of learning definitions.
I think I'll stay with Kunal for now and ask him: Are you recommending or developing AI-based solutions for your clients in large numbers? Is that a significant number? I mean, do you get such situations often that tell us how we can use AI for sorting this out in our organization, in our HR department?
So what we are doing for one of the clients, so we don't do learning systems, we do different kinds of HR tech, but one of the systems that we are doing is for the largest organizations based out of US. What we have done is we have done a 3-stage work for them, and right now we are phase 3 for them. So the first phase we designed the entire competencies for that company. In the second phase we designed the entire content and the storyboarding for that company. In stage 3 we are doing video and video platforms for that company. So that is the finest quality of learning which can be there, which can last with the organization for another 10-15 years to come, because there are reinforcements and replacements on the field which happen. So this company is a very large NGO, international NGO. They work with different hospitals in India. And so what happens is at the remote places, they need the learning to go to people, which is always personalized. And fortunately, people understand, irrespective of the levels of education, a lot of times people understand video-based learnings. So how does the video-based examples have to get fine-tuned for audiences of what kind? How does animation work for audiences of what kind? Then you also need to understand who are the handlers. So there is a difference between training your employees and training your customers in the learning market. So training your employees, you will have different set of technology products. Training your customers, you're going to have a very different set of learning products.
And Venkat, you can tell us about, are you using AI in any way in your own learning and training programs?
Not learning and training programs. Yeah, we are exploring. If we look at what context we're looking at, one is, I think, in terms of the whole, the identification of needs and, the analysis which goes behind that in terms of what employee requires as training. That could be one area which we could look at. The other is in terms of content, to actually kind of pick up good content. That's something which we can do. And they are also looking at in gamification, how we could bring AI. So these are things that we definitely are looking at in terms of AI. That's something which we are looking at. But yeah, I mean, we started using technology because in our bots, yes, our HRMS has some AI which is introduced, which has been introduced, which kind of, to pick up, to kind of, answer employee queries and things like that, the bots are used and AI is used in that application. So at this point of time, it's that, but we're looking at recruitment and L&D are two areas that we're looking at AI.
So, this is like one end in large numbers, but simpler skills. Abbas, in your kind of business, it's very complex skills, very advanced level skills, the finest of engineering minds, the finest of salespeople, because the ticket sizes are very different. Do you think, AI or things like that, when you are the guys who develop solutions based on AI for your customers, right? So it's not a thing that, you can apply and they wouldn't know what you're trying to do, right? They have to know what it is. So what kind of technologies, if besides AI or AI and other technologies that find a place in your kind of high skill, high competence, high stake businesses that you have?
So thanks a lot for helping me out, because that was my next statement. Artificial intelligence is a commodity that is still not there, So I'm talking about I don't even want to say that, artificial intelligence is something that we are waiting or we are struggling or we are learning in HR. Unfortunately, artificial intelligence is the technology on which Ericsson is making money.
Exactly, that's what I meant, that.
So it's such a technology that we are selling right now. We are trying to develop.
Not pay to anyone to do anything for you.
Exactly. This is still some kind of a dream for a lot of organizations. So I would rather say that, this is something that is there in the business. We talk about a lot of projects working with BMW. Ericsson is working with them in terms of development of, self-driven cars. That's one of the, we're working with BMW on that. We're working Volvo. So these are high-ticket models. Unfortunately, artificial intelligence is still not there. Yes, when we talk about what kind of solutions we can develop, there is technology. Technology has come in. Technology has become sophisticated. RPA is there heavily, no doubt. Robotic process automation has something which actually has gotten to both from the learning, and specifically talking about learning and development, both from learning and development shared services side, because we have a vast network, an entire dedicated global operations. My previous role was that I was heading the global operations excellence for all the shared services globally, which was, yeah. So there we have done a lot. There we have done a lot, because it's like syncing 110,000 employees in terms of their competence map, and then try to bring them to classrooms, web-based design, and then try to optimize what exactly has to be. There exactly the technology comes very handy, where we know that what exactly is the availability of people, and try to optimize those classes, whether they be web, and a lot of traveling happens in these trainings, So optimization obviously becomes very important, and you have 30 people sitting in shared services managing it for the employees. Now technology is required there. So when you talk about RPA, we are there heavily in RPA. I would still not say bots, yes there, but again, I'll still put up a very, cap it all there, and I would not even say machine learning chatbots. These are very data-driven fed chatbots, which basically are there defining what exactly is the kind. So those are things are there, but yes, we have platforms which are connecting different intranet and internet sources in terms when people want to find out what exactly is available. We have a program, Degreed, which we call it, when I'm not wearing that card. So Degreed is something that we are doing right now. We have very specifically designed programs for sales excellence, which we have branded as Set to Win. So technology is very much there. We are trying to, bring people in different market areas who have worked on different competence. We are putting up, giving them platforms to interact. We are giving them opportunities to train together, be in the same classroom. Those kind of programs are there, and these are very much done by the shared services, technology, interfaces, and so on and so forth. But artificial intelligence, is something which is really a far cry as of now.
Yeah. So this is how things stand now. I think now we can take people to the future. So Kunal, what's your take? How is AI going to work in any L&D environment? How is it coming to that topic now, right? After we have known the background, how do you think it's going to play out in learning and development? Broadly in HR, not because we have talked in various sessions, but let's stay with learning and development. What kind of technologies can work or will work in the future?
I think we need to understand what exactly is AI to be used for. As you said, learning. So we'll have to work backwards. Ultimately, AI is just one of the many tools. It wasn't existent till about the last 7 years. And before that, there were analytics for about 5 years. And before that, there was technology systems in terms of mobile apps and web services. And before that, there was a term called computers as well, which was very new for 1 decade. So we need to understand that ultimately what is happening is we're just moving towards making learning more efficient. We're ensuring that the gaps which are there are variant gaps of learning that students or people in a large organization in an MNC have as compared to an SME. There are gaps of learning between students of a public school as well as a government school. So ultimately AI, artificial intelligence, with the personalization that it can offer, it is just going to remove the variances, the stock variances that people have in learning that have to be reduced. Again, it has to be efficiency driven. Ultimately, the aim of AI is just to create more efficient learnings. Now, there are two kinds of AI models. One is the AI-led models, wherein the artificial intelligence systems replace humans, and the second, which is possibly more efficient and more effective, and which is where we are going to see the next 5 years of AI going to happen, is the AI-enabled or AI-assisted learning models. When we talk about artificial intelligence, the debate, at a deeper level has gone into the left brain and the right brain learnings. So the left brain learning is more analytical. It can still happen through the systems. With the right brain, the creativity learning has to require this group kind of an interaction. It has to have differences of diversities. It has to require new opinions of different people. It has to require body languages. It has to require different colors. You can't have people learn from one prism. So I think anything to do with AI in learning has to be efficiency and result driven. For a tech company, it is going to be different. For a retail company, it is going to be
that
different.
we went through, yeah, correct, absolutely.
So AI systems today also what we're doing in terms of profiling people, right now we use nothing less than about 12 parameters. We have to look at the demographics to provide hyper-learning profiles of people. We have to look at their salary brackets. We have to look at their education levels. We have to also understand their learning quotients. We have to also understand the career graphs and age groups and gender biases as well in terms of how the learning has to function.
Venkat, is there any kind of a wish list you'll have where wish there were a technology like this which could do this for me and life would be so much easier? I have to struggle with this. Do you have any kind of thing? Because this is like, would concern everyone and
yeah, sometime back we had definitely wanted technology as part of our L&D. That's when we brought e-learning in a big way across in the organization. And today, yes, we moved to the next level. We have a strong learning management system which we are putting across because most of our staff have a smartphone. So we said, okay, we'll use that advantage in terms of learning through cloud, through their phones. And AI, we are slowly bringing in various functions. And L&D, what we see is, like I rightly said, okay, how can it assist us, support us to create better content or to kind of, make sure that, the training need analysis is done in a better way to understand employees' training needs. And those are areas that we want to do AI. So that's what we're looking at going forward.
yeah, so Abbas, I would like to make the best out of your being at Ericsson. So do you have a kind of I'm sure you assess what it's going to be, right? What kind of training needs you're going to have, what kind of technologies which are going to be used, when all of you meet at global level. So how do you see from a very Ericssonian point of view the application of AI and technology in learning and development?
So we are a very emotional organization. We always have very symbolic features for everything.
Fantastic.
So I'll just put up our wish list and how we actually cater to that. So every person who's actually joining the organization, and if the person unfortunately is leaving the organization and has not been to Stockholm, he has not done anything. So that was the concept, in fact, and thanks Kunal for bringing up, what exactly is the AI. So if you really want to say what exactly is the artificial intelligence technology we are using, so every person in Ericsson today is doing an onboarding, sitting here on Oculus, and the person is actually, and the entire landscape in which he's doing that training is with the people sitting in one of the building number 21 in Stockholm.
Okay.
So he has the entire feel of building number 21, where exactly there's, I mean, it's a huge building. It's one of the buildings in Stockholm. And it's a huge...
That's your own building.
Yeah, experience center we call it. And the person actually does the entire training out there with the other people. I don't know if those people are real or not, but I have seen that. So that's the symbolic nature of how exactly you are doing. So the onboarding program, obviously, we have transferred to that. Web-based learning is something that has been there in Ericsson for years because we have got a learning academy of ours. So we have tied it up to that. The biggest thing that we are right now doing, and probably we'll see that happening in another 1 year or 18 months, would be that how to tie up the training, because we do a lot of certifications ourselves. There are a lot of certifications which Ericsson does for it.
For your buyers?
For
the people that you buy?
For the people internally.
Your own people,
so we have our own certifications, and those people actually can then only work on certain technologies. So we have got Ericsson certified professionals. So, and I mean, we file for 2,000 patents a year. So those kind of certifications, but tying up those certifications, and that's where exactly we want to head. We're specifically talking about human resource, which we call people function. So tying up those certifications, those achievements out to your career path. And so the idea is that if you are a pricing person and you have been into contract negotiations, then what exactly are the certifications and things that you can do, which can and trainings you can do, which can take you to a lateral movement of account management. So that is what we are trying to tie up now. And it's not that I'm an HR person, I can also have that, but it will not tie me up to a lateral, but I can have a badge around it. I can have that certification with me, so that I am a certified account manager to a certain grade.
Is analysis done by a person or is it done by a machine?
No, all done at the back end, because these are all design tools that we have right now. We are basically tying competence. We have got a very robust
where you can assess the person's background and needs and what he's done in the past or what she's capable of doing.
So we have got the profiles and everything done out there, and and we have a very robust career competence model. We have a 10 years old career competence model, which we have evolved 10 years back. So that has a lot of layers to it, and we are still evolving in terms of rationalization of job stages to job roles and so on and so forth. So that's what we are trying to tie up in terms of what we offer in terms of learning and how we can tie it up to performance.
So I think we know what possible, we have a sense of what the possibilities are, what are the things it can take care of. I think we can give a vast little break and come to you, Venkat. And what do you think are the pitfalls? What do you think is the other side? What is that? Are there areas where technology is harming the cause of learning and development? It's a question. It's not a comment at all.
No, I definitely feel that technology can be detrimental in some ways, because of the fact that human interaction is also very critical, because at the end of the day, the emotions is something that, I mean, I'm sure all the speakers in the previous sessions also spoke about that. I think you definitely need to know, because technology can do only to an extent, and beyond that you need the human being, and only technology can assist the human being to get the end what he's looking for. That's what I feel.
Yeah, Kunal, even in your industry, after all, the coder is a human being, the programmer is a human being. So are there any pitfalls in, not, I mean, in fact, I'm a little alarmed by, I got provoked by Abbas's thing about, how it's all done by the machine, what modules he should be going for how long, and, in how many months. And he's the guy who, or she's the person who just not interested in what the machine recommended, said, but who told you I want to do this?
No, actually that is one of the most used use cases in the market. Profiling people, what are they supposed to do? Because
by a machine?
Machine is just programmed by the human ultimately. So the rule systems are set in by the human being only. Ultimately, everything has to be backward driven. What is the business expecting? So that's a use case, to understand where the people stand so that their competencies can be mapped against future needs, and the job allocations can happen for the next project and the next project, or if in case they can't be trained or they can be trained. Before a person is deallocated from a project 6 months from now, you'll have to start working on his profile right now.
I think this is one side of the argument, that human beings the person who's doing that job can go wrong, because he too has emotions. He too may think, oh, I don't like this person, or he may think that, oh, women can't do this, or women shouldn't be doing this, but machine doesn't see that. If you say, no, gender is not important, then machine won't discriminate on the basis of a gender, right? So, what's your take on that? What are the pitfalls of going like pure play technology in assessing the learning which is in the brain, the development which is of the person, right? He's going to grow, he or she will be able to take on more challenges. How's the machine going to decide that?
So,
and not just decide, also impart that.
Okay, so I believe that we are not doing justice to the employee himself. We are, see, there can be certain rules and career paths that you can show.
Correct.
But it's a transaction. And I'm not saying the word transaction because that's what I'm saying, because that's the philosophy. We have got something called a people story. We have got that philosophy out there as part of talent management, which is leadership level trainings and development. And that's a transaction, because transaction is something that I can show you a career path, but it's not necessary you choose it.
Okay.
Try to find out something else, and
makes
we'll
sense.
support you on that.
Okay.
So this is something which is a rational approach.
Meeting ground, yeah.
Yeah. If you are a person in as I was giving an example, that you are a commercial person, and probably you have some, because I have been part of these things, because see, as I told you, people have been in the system for long. So you know that there is a certain level that you can rise up in a certain role, and further to that, so I can give you some space out somewhere else. But let's say, for example, I can give you a very simple example. If I started as a talent acquisition head for India, okay, back in 2011, and I went to manage, my next role was, I was the delivery head for North America and Latin America. Now these are totally different things.
Yeah.
That's a choice I made.
Different cultures.
I would have been if I would have been given a chance, probably I would have gone into a global role in talent acquisition. But that's a choice that I took. From there, I went into operation excellence, and from there, I went into program management. Now I don't know what I will do. So this is a choice I am making. Maybe the tool will never define those choices for me, but these are choices I am making. So it's a transaction. This is something. So the organization should say that if you are clueless, this is this. But if you have some better idea, please do tell us. And it's a simple philosophy.
What are the skills that machines cannot impart at all?
I think choices.
Maybe one or two you can just mention.
Choices are definitely one thing that the machine can never impact on. And the other thing is, I think machines, just to talk about the last point on the pitfalls of machines, I think there's a lot of peer pressure, there's a lot of stress level in the corporates. Now we're using emotional AI to understand happiness behaviors in the organizations.
We're talking about that in a coming session, yeah.
Okay, you're talking about that. So that's another very, very important use case which has started happening in almost every organization, the welfare part of emotional AI, as to how do you keep the employees happy.
Which machine can't do.
So the machine will tell
can
you
take
whether the
some
person
away.
is happy doing a particular task or not.
Sure.
So choices are something, coming back to your question, choices are something that a machine cannot tell you. The second thing is, I think people will always have to define what do they want. Somebody as aggressive and as competent at Abbas would keep choosing new challenges, which are and a lot of people do that. A lot of people work in organizations just for learning new things. Today a lot of people just shift jobs.
Learning itself can be a need.
Learning itself is a job requirement for a lot of people, but people have to define their spaces. Somebody wants work-life balance. Somebody wants to travel along with work. Somebody wants to, run a family while, so they should not, again, they should be, again, balanced in their approach. They should not ask for 20%, 30% hikes every year.
Right.
When they want to do the same task, over and over. And so they want all the worlds together. They don't want to aggressively work and seek out new avenues, and at the same time they want 30% hikes as well. So that's one part.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Kunal,
Just
well
to
said,
put it
yeah.
in one sentence, machines can't read the mind.
Unread the mind.
Yes.
Oh, something they can. He said that they can read.
Yeah, they
whether
can
you're
actually
happy or
read.
not. You are, you do
there's
well. Yeah.
There's a new generation which is just growing up on, tools like Facebook actually change your behavior, change your psychology. They're like an inception. They seed in so much thoughts in your brain, we don't even realize in everyday life.
In fact, there's an entire thing called behavioral economics, right? In fact, they say, seeing your social media profiles, banks can say whether you're going to repay this loan or not.
Oh, yeah.
You look like the guy who would, default, but eventually pay. You're like, I will never pay. They can see your level of integrity. So, okay,
Then
no,
I'm
but
wrong.
then you, no. I'm just giving other, I mean, the idea of a panel is that there are,
I'm sure, some of
no, but that's, you're right. No, you have a point, of course. There are deep down, I mean, if only if machines could read, there wouldn't be any, what our lawyer friend was talking about, the kind of legal cases that happen. Only if you could make out that this manager was going to be doing this or not, then.
Just to support Venkat on that, and again coming back to the older question, there is a lot of experimenting which is actually happening to develop AI, but right now what those social media companies are doing is just a clear trending. It's a trend that they basically are reading. So I would give him that, they still are not reading the mind.
True,
Thanks,
true,
Abbas.
true. But now I think do we have more time, or we need to conclude? Maybe we'll.
It says time's up there.
I'm sitting in the wrong direction. So one quick thing, how to, what are we going to talk? Would you like to recommend a website or a blog or a person or a document where if you want to know how AI works in learning and development, anything that you've come across, you've read, any person, any author or a company's module that you would want to talk about besides your own maybe? If it's public, I mean, please don't mention only the public sources.
So I think I have recently come across a lot of Chinese models on artificial intelligence. I'm a big fan of how Duolingo works. I'm learning 3 languages on that tool. It's a combination of artificial intelligence, gamification, design theory. One of the finest apps that I have recently come across. It says that you can summarize 3 years of learning in 36 hours of the language learning that Duolingo imparts. So I think it's a great tool. Personally, I've seen one of the finest examples in the
Anything
market.
you've come across where any person, any
Not
author you
yet.
follow,
Yeah, I've really
or maybe a
not
professor
kind of-
is a course?
No,
No,
AI I've not done any
All right.
depth into
So
that.
I just recommend something for AI. I will recommend a very human thing. Keep connected to the industry. Talk to people
Wow.
because a lot of people experiment. I mean, I've come across organizations. I don't know if I should name them, but I've come across organizations who are doing really great work in terms of developing talent management modules, leadership development programs. These are very simple tools, that they are using in terms of, because they have very small pool of key contributors, how they are tracking their growth paths. But these are very indigenously designed, like one person thinking about it and trying to put it across. AI is something, I mean, Kunal obviously can add a lot in terms of the technology piece because he's into that. But from when you talk about what exactly are the simple solutions, I believe a lot of industry right now is not very organized. People are trying to devise their own ways in terms of coming up to what exactly would be called usage of technology. Some can be very off the shelf, some can be very much developed internally. So I believe people should keep on talking. That's
to
the
each
most
other.
important thing. Yeah.
Places like these, yeah.
Yeah.
So one quick question maybe, because I didn't realize I was sitting the wrong way. Yeah, sure, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You have a question?
Do you need a mic?
Question is actually how important artificial learning will be when everything is actually directed by and made by the human beings.
They answered some of it, but yeah. Yeah,
So
sure.
that's very important to know. Can it really replace the manipulations done by the human mind?
Ma'am, you can just tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, what kind of industry or profession you come from?
I am Delhi University professor.
Okay,
And
fantastic.
I am doing a lot of research also on these various issues also.
Thank you so much.
This is really I want to know.
Sure, yeah. That's anyone can answer.
So I think artificial learning, in my understanding, that may not be the best term. Learning assisted by artificial intelligence is possibly the way forward in terms of customizing content, customizing learning tools based on each individual going forward. And like I said, ultimately when you go deep down into learning through machines, you will have to bifurcate both the parts, left brain and the right brain theories. And there are no concrete models in the market right now apart from some use cases for everything. So use cases are on content, use cases are on understanding people, use cases are on understanding behavior as well as giving behavior back. What kind of application of behavior you want people to function on.
Anything you want to add? Anyone?
See, if you say that, I will just try to pick up one part of your question, and please do let me know if I've understood it right. So you said that, with artificial intelligence, if I take it like that, with the kind of learning that actually has been developed, will it be able to do what exactly the human? So first part is, it is developed so that there is an honest trending, an honest case which actually is developed for it. Humans, yes, you use the right word, manipulate. So if I really want a resource to stay with me, I will tell a different career path to the person. And if I don't want the person to stay, I will obviously ask, why don't you take a job? I mean, this is a great, I believe in your career. Those kind of interactions from a people function perspective are basically taken care by that. There's a lot of scope. We will see in the coming times things designed, and it has always been there. It has always been there, and it is very important. I'll just give you a very simple example and finish my answer to it. Yes, it is required, it is necessary, because once you go there and it says, for example, you're learning something, what do you consider yourself? Beginner, intermediate, expert? As soon as you click on something, the entire question changes. What if you would have wasted really a lot of time if you had not chosen that?
Thank you so much. Wish we could go on for more, but I've just been told that that's all we have time for. So thank you, gentlemen. That was wonderful. I think we could have some great discussion. Thank you.